My husband's jaw drops like I just told him the world's ending. I don't blink, staring him down, my voice steady as steel. You choose fix this, or I call CPS on you and your mother. The air in our cramped living room thickens, heavy with years of unspoken truths, broken promises, and a marriage teetering on the edge of collapse. I'm done playing nice, done pretending everything's fine while our kids suffer in silence. This is my line in the sand, and I'm ready to burn it all down if that's what it takes to protect them. It wasn't always like this. 10 years ago, I was starry-eyed, marrying Tom in a small church with daisies tucked into my braid. He was charming, all crooked smiles and big dreams, promising we'd build a life together. His mother, Evelyn, was there too, beaming with pride, already calling me daughter. I thought I'd won the lottery, a husband who loved me, and a mother-in-law who seemed to care. But love blinds you to cracks, and those cracks grew into chasms. The trouble started when our first child, Lily, was born. Tom's job as a mechanic kept him out late, and I was drowning in diapers and sleepless nights. Evelyn swooped in, offering to help. At first, it was a godsend, meals cooked, laundry folded. But soon, her help came with strings. "You're not feeding Lily right," she'd say, her tone sharp as a knife. My Tom was raised on my cooking, and he turned out fine. I'd bite my tongue, not wanting to rock the boat. But Evelyn's suggestions turned into commands, and when Tom, he'd just shrug, saying, "She means well. Sarah, let her help." By the time our second child, Max, arrived, Evelyn was practically living with us. She'd rearrange my kitchen, criticize my parenting, and undermine every decision I made. If I said no screen time, she'd sneak the kids' cartoons. If I set a bedtime, she'd let them stay up, claiming I was too strict. Tom never backed me up. "She's just being a grandma," he'd say, dismissing my frustration. I felt like a stranger in my own home, my authority eroding with every smug look from Evelyn. But it wasn't just the overstepping. I started noticing things small at first, then impossible to ignore. Lily, only 6, would flinch when Evelyn raised her voice. Max, barely 3, clung to me whenever she was around. I found bruises on Lily's arm once, faint but real. She said she fell, but her eyes darted to Evelyn, who was quick to chime in. "Kids are clumsy. Sarah, don't make a fuss." My gut screamed something was wrong, but Tom brushed it off. "You're overreacting," he'd say. "Mom would never hurt them." I wanted to believe him, but doubt gnawed at me. Then came the day that broke me. I came home early from a grocery run and found Evelyn yelling at Lily in the backyard. My daughter was sobbing, curled up on the grass, while Evelyn towered over her, berating her for spilling juice. "You're useless. Just like your mother," she spat. I froze, rage boiling in my chest. Before I could intervene, Tom appeared, pulling his mother away. But he didn't comfort Lily. He just told her to stop crying and go inside. That night, I checked Lily's arms again. More bruises, fresher this time. She wouldn't talk, but her silence spoke volumes. I confronted Tom that night, my voice shaking with fury. "Your mother's hurting our kids, and you're letting it happen." He looked stunned, then defensive. "She's not perfect, Sarah, but she's not abusive. You're blowing this out of proportion." I showed him the bruises, demanded he explain. He stammered, then fell silent. That's when I knew he wasn't just blind. He was complicit. He'd rather protect his mother than his own children. The next morning, I sat him down. The kids were at a neighbor's, and Evelyn was out. It was just us, face to face, the weight of our failing marriage between us. "Tom," I said, my voice low but unyielding, "this ends now. Your mother's reign in this house is over. You either stand with me and the kids, or I'm done. I'll call CPS, and I'll make sure they know everything about her, about you, about how you've let this happen." His face paled, eyes wide with panic. "You wouldn't. he whispered. I leaned closer, unflinching. Try me. He tried to argue, his voice rising. She's my mother, Sarah. She's family. I cut him off. Our kids are family. They're the ones who matter. You've let her walk all over us for years, and now Lily's scared in her own home. Max barely talks anymore. You think that's normal? I pulled out my phone, opened the CPS website, and set it on the table. One call, Tom, one call, and this all comes crashing down. Choose. The silence was deafening. He stared at the phone, then at me, his hands trembling. I could see the war in his head, loyalty to his mother versus the reality of what she'd done. I didn't back down. You've got 1 week, I said. Get her out, or I make the call. And I'm not bluffing. The next few days were a blur of tension. Tom was distant, barely speaking. Evelyn, oblivious, kept up her usual routine, barking orders and criticizing everything. I watched her like a hawk, documenting every harsh word. Every time the kids flinched, I took photos of Lily's bruises, saved voicemails from Evelyn's rants. If it came to CPS, I'd be ready. On the 5th day, Tom broke. He came home from work, his face haggard, and said, I talked to Mom. She's moving out. I didn't celebrate. I just nodded. Good. But this isn't over. You need to prove you're with us. Not her. He looked defeated, but for the first time, I saw something like guilt in his eyes. I didn't know it was this bad, he mumbled. I didn't soften. You didn't want to know. Evelyn's departure was a spectacle. She packed her bags, hurling insults at me, calling me ungrateful, manipulative, a bad mother. Tom stood by, silent, as she stormed out. The kids watched from the window, Lily clutching Max's hand. When the door slammed shut, I felt a weight lift, but the scars remained. Our home was quieter, but not peaceful. Trust was shattered, and rebuilding it would take more than Evelyn's absence. Tom started therapy. At my insistence, he admitted he'd been wrong, that he'd ignored the signs to keep the peace. I didn't forgive him, not yet. The kids needed counseling too. Lily started opening up, revealing how Evelyn's discipline had left her terrified. Max's speech improved, but he still woke up screaming some nights. I carried my own guilt. Why hadn't I acted sooner? But I pushed it aside. My kids needed me strong, not broken. Months passed. The house felt like ours again, but the ghosts of Evelyn's presence lingered. Tom tried to make amends, taking on more with the kids, listening when I set boundaries. But every time I looked at him, I remembered his inaction, his excuses. I wondered if love could survive that kind of betrayal. I hadn't called CPS, but the threat still hung between us, a reminder of how far I'd go for my children. One night, Lily crawled into my lap, her small arms around my neck. Is Grandma gone for good? She asked. I kissed her forehead. She's gone, sweetheart. You're safe now. She smiled, and for the first time in months, it reached her eyes. Max toddled over, joining the hug. In that moment, I knew I'd made the right choice, no matter how hard it had been. This wasn't just about one family's drama. It was about breaking a cycle, standing up to toxic loyalty, choosing what's right over what's easy. I don't know if Tom and I will make it. Some wounds cut too deep. But I know my kids are worth fighting for, and I'll never let anyone, not even family, hurt them again. What would you do in my shoes? Was I too harsh, or was I right to draw that line? Share your thoughts. Where does loyalty end and justice begin?